Alrighty. Well, I said today might be 13th day. I ended up actually changing my decision. I know I probably said it yesterday afternoon, probably, but last night I ended up changing my decision. It's usually Euro Truck, Final Fantasy, or in that regard right now, or American Truck, and I usually end up deciding what we're going to pick and what we're doing. But I am late, trying to get on, trying to get here. Um, mostly because sometimes I get distracted, trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about. On a lot of things. If you are not into this, you can always not follow this part of this stream if you're not political. But just remember, to be honest, I don't sit here and watch YouTube or watch, I don't sit here and pick, Final Fantasy or pick Euro Truck based on, things that based on what I have the importance of talking about. And to be honest, some of those things that really do need to be said, that need to really be put into sharing that. But I do want you guys to know, we officially listed through this. We have probably some more maps. I did end up removing a couple of map mods. Probably might remove down here, but I only have it just because of for it. And it looks like I can still get to that side, but there are parts where I can't get access to because of the mod having things broken in the middle of the road. This is where we're at now. I did take a test run just to drive for a little bit to see if anything would happen. But anyway, for today, we could take that. That's going to be pretty much basically an hour-long trip. Not really. Going back to going down here to Madrid, I don't care. I'm not opposed to doing that. We need to get money. We need. How long is this? This offers expires Sunday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is 3 days, and it's 30 hours, which is usually about 2 days. So we might be able to make it in time. Make it in time for it. And we will have some things that really are problematic within what's going on. And to be honest, for a lot of people who will sit here and believe that the vehicle physics have changed a lot in the game. Like, I will say that, like, I am starting to feel a little bit like of a headache, but not because of this game. I'm actually starting to feel like a little bit of a headache because I haven't had probably caffeine for the last couple of days. So it's whatever. I'm not like dramatically worried if I don't have caffeine. Um, you know, if I get a headache, I get a headache. I'm not. It's not like. It's not like I'm gonna have any problems. But I will tell you, um, there's a couple of things that are. We got some good news and some bad news. Um, primarily some really. Okay, wait. How did okay? How did I get some damage there? I think I just went around the corner too fast. I'm not paying attention to my speed. Um, but I am not. I don't put my politics all the time on this channel. I do put my politics separately from each point. Um, and then I do separate myself. I usually try to separate myself a lot of politics and a lot of things away from, depending on what we're doing, depending on the game or how we're doing things directly. Um, through all of this, and I usually stick away from the politics sometimes because I know it's a hot button topic for everybody. But if I don't say some of these things, then it's going to be some problems, and problems for a lot of reasons. Um, where any where sometimes it can be daunting on a lot of people. People just want to escape from it. So that's why I usually will have, if I'm want to sit and drive, I will talk politics here specifically. But then when I go, I don't talk politics in my other stuff. So if you are, but if you are, um, yeah. See, I hate the way that. Like, look, the lights bother me when they're not, like, over there. They're gonna let me go. Okay. But there is this thing um that I have to share, and I really need to share with you guys to really understand that there's a lot of these things that really do tend to bother me a lot of times when, you guys know, see the title, the Trans Kansas thing. For most of you probably haven't seen or heard about this news about this because it's probably not going to propagate on the mainstream media as much as people probably will hear about it. It's gonna be probably something where we're not going to hear about it because there are other pressing matters to it. And yeah, there are a lot of pressing matters when natural disaster strikes. When things like that happen. And it's really sad for Illinois right now. Um, yeah, see, I really hate that. Like, it's like it's the only thing I have a problem with. Is the stoplights and things. Like, I understand how to drive in Europe in most of these cases, but it's like the stoplight the stoplights are the only thing that I have an issue with in Europe. To be honest, in Japan, the stoplights actually, I have an easier time understanding Japan than I do understanding America. I mean, than Europe, to be honest. I can drive on the left-hand side of the road. Fake. I can mostly do most of that. Now, I still have struggles because I do struggle with driving just in general. And nobody should really like. It's really hard to focus a lot of the um, a lot of the time. But there is a couple like um there's a couple of things that people need to really understand, that when you look at video games or you look at things going on within the countries or anything anywhere, if you really go and spend your time looking at how am I speeding, how am I speeding, I'm like, but but oh, it's 8.3 seconds. I'm wondering if um when I send the stream out, that there is like that delay on YouTube itself for it, like that it's an 8-second delay. I might remove that delay just because. And if you guys are experiencing a lot of the keyframe issues, let me know. I don't think I'm having any issues, but the issue that comes along with understanding what's going on with Kansas to be more no, I don't need to go that way. To understand where what's going on, and we need to go back to last year. I believe it was last year. May have been way earlier this year, but where a bill was passed in the state of Kansas. Okay, this is why trans people do not go. This is why I advise you not to go to Kansas City. Because when you go to Kansas City, you are at risk of getting hurt by these laws. And to be honest, the one law that been plagued with is the bathroom issue. Now, of course, the bathrooms, you're supposed to follow the law. You're supposed to, as a trans man, you're supposed to use the women's restroom. Not the men's restroom, the women's restroom. Okay? And in the trans women are supposed to use the men's restroom. Now, by that logic, that is to prevent kids from having, there's basically saying, oh, it's going to prevent kids from being traumatized. It's like, okay, so, but it did not. Because for trans men, the SB44 that got passed, that basically, the cop didn't know anything. The cop didn't really, it's like, if you write a law like that, you're supposed to let the cops understand. You're supposed to let people know about this. People who sit there and don't know or don't pay attention to these things aren't really going to necessarily know, oh, okay, so it's like, oh, why are these 4 men in here? Because they are probably trans. People got, in trouble, these people got in trouble for it. And it's like, they're following the law. They got called upon because they're illegally in the basically following the law. They were legally there, but they got into trouble because people saw that it was a bad thing and it got called upon. And it's like, this is why you don't police the bathrooms on trans people, because a lot of times, yeah, you're going to inevitably have some issues with people. But when you look at people that actually sit there and actually fully take the time to transition, they're like, if you really look at a trans person who transitions to be a female, most females are going to get the full surgery, get everything done, and most of them aren't going to really necessarily hurt you if they go for the full-on everything. Okay, and that's basically just saying that you are that they aren't going to come out and hurt you. You know, YouTube's going to hate me for saying it, and I know they will, but you know what I'm talking about, the P word. The P, the blank, the D, the O, to be honest. And oh, wow. They okay, the game, like, I did not see the sign there. Like I said, I have a bad time driving. Like, of course, like, even then, it's like, yeah. But anyway, the one thing that really does bother me a lot of times is that they make these legislations. They don't realize the ramifications that happen. They just say, oh, well, this ain't gonna happen. This isn't gonna be a problem, or they really, like, yeah, But they don't seem to understand that that if you have trans men using the women's restroom, people are going to really look down upon you, and it's going to be a problem because of it. And yeah, I know, but this car went ahead of me, and I didn't. That's the whole point. Is like in Europe, you can't see the traffic signals from up above. And that really bothers me in Europe. It is nothing I have wrong with driving. I can drive. I don't care left hand side, right hand drive. I can pay attention to most of the laws. That's the one that I don't quite understand. And it's like you sit there and you follow the law and you follow the things that they tell you that you're supposed to be doing. But then you get into trouble for following the law. It's literally... It is literally... one of the big problems that that really does make the issues that go on. That people will basically be harmful to people because they don't quite understand. They don't, like, a lot of people will just dogpile on people because the whole rest of the world's doing it. Don't be that jerk. Don't be that jerk. Don't follow what other people do. It's one of those things, like, you can say, one of the things I was watching earlier is the Nickelback thing. It's like, why do people hate Nickelback? Why? Is it just because people just decided that oh, Nickelback's bad now because of things and because of what it is? Okay, whatever. It's like you can decide that you just like something. It's like people who grew up later, younger, are going to are going to be like, you know what, Nickelback can be. People are just typecasting people because they dislike something or choose to hate something because of what critics tell people. Critics are going to be critics. They're going to tell you probably shouldn't be, but you don't have to. You don't have to go out there and believe everything that these critics say. A lot of times, like, yeah, I do look at when it comes to things like, the Phoenician scheme. Thought it was going to be like a good thing, but you pay the attention to what's going on and pay attention to what's there, and just see what's going on. See what's going on in society with that. And don't always believe every single review that you see, because, sometimes a review, when you look at people and saying, oh, they have good reviews, and the hotel is, like, great, but then you have a thing that's bad that you may end up finding that it's not a good thing. It doesn't mean that it's a bad hotel. It just means that a lot of times we have to really focus on looking at why are people saying that it's a bad place, or why, and what's going on with it. If that's the thing that you gotta really spend your time studying up on the hotels. Don't just go out and say, oh, well, this is a hotel cheap because, but why is it cheap? What is people saying about the hotel? Some people will say that it's good, but you look at the bad reviews as well as the good. If there are no reviews, you choose not to buy that product. You don't go out and buy that product product. You look at spending less time on worrying about those products if they don't. But it also happens to be where, you know, people will just listen and um, believe certain things. Like, yeah, there are going to be bad places, there are going to be bad things that happen, but you pay attention, you listen to what's going on so that you can understand. Make better informed decisions on these things, you know? And don't just believe that, you know, now you have some real world examples of people following the law and, you know, that it's like most people aren't gonna check your ID, most people aren't gonna check those things unless you are, one, you're getting identity or getting things revoked or getting things like that. They're not going to necessarily check you. Not every store is gonna check your ID. Not everybody's gonna, like, you don't have to go to a store unless you're buying alcohol. You don't have, or buying cigarettes. You don't have, or like, they don't check they don't check. They don't check if you're that way. They don't necessarily check it unless it's locked behind the thing. It's really a lot of these things that really people need to listen and actually pay attention to what's going on. You know, you go to Walmart. There are a lot of places where they lock things behind a counter. They lock things behind these things, and they don't. And people are like, but they do it because people are being such. On it, and it's like you gotta think about what goes on and what's the problem that people are facing just in general. Thanks for the follow, Golvildar. Thank you. But it's one of those things where a lot of these places don't seem to really listen, don't seem to understand the problems that are being faced with passing laws like this, like banning trans people or banning people from these things. Like, you got to stop and think about it before you make those decisions and understand, can this happen to me? Can this be a problem? Because I don't like these people, but what would happen if it started becoming that I'm sitting here, I look masculine enough, but then they decided, oh, you look like you're or whatever, and you, like, they don't seem to really understand that just because people look at trans people, like, there are a lot of people out there that do genuinely look like a man or genuinely look like a female. Laverne Cox did not even think she was trans until later. Okay, I did not know that, you know, that I've had people in my college that I didn't know was trans until later. There are a lot of things that, you know, you can't tell. You cannot simply tell just by looking at somebody. You cannot specifically just say you want a man in the restroom. You can't. You really are going to have problems when you have a trans man in the women's restroom for it. But to be honest, it's when you look at the other side of the coin and you look at the right side, but then you also have the other side of the coin with the trans people. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's not just in bathrooms. They literally are just trying to take away people's right to make their own decisions in their own lives. They do this with age verification, trying to pass age assurance in Texas. They literally got a website shut down. Thankfully, that the site was a horrible site to begin with, but they still are could potentially be utilizing that kill switch on that website. What would make it constitute that they could kill switch on another website or another place that they dislike? It is literally starting to take away that freedom for it. And I'm not going to mention the website. I know the website, what it is, and they did get shut down, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, because if I do, it's basically not a place that you guys should know about anyway. I didn't even know about it until yesterday anyway. But it's what is it stopping you from having a car that they basically say, oh, now you have to follow the roads, you have to follow these, you have to follow everything that is built in. And then you have to stop your vehicle because in the middle of the road of some sort, because they just deem vehicle you're being erratic, or you're having some problems, or you're sleepy a little bit or whatever, and they just decide that now you can't work your car anymore. They are wanting to do those things, and it's starting to become where we are losing our rights more and more every day than gaining our rights, gaining the things that we need to be able to do on a daily basis. But I will tell you, at least there are some things that can be fixed and can be done, is just making sure you vote right. Make sure that you pay attention to who's there. Most of the time, like right now, like if you look at it, I will tell you, I voted yesterday for the Minnesota primary. I voted absolutely yesterday for good reasons. I was gonna vote for yesterday on for had a issue where deciding who to vote for the Senate was the biggest one that I had issues with for trying to decide which Democrat to really send to the ballot in November, and got that one right. But the governor one was, I knew who was going to potentially win, but I just was hopeful that by me voting not that candidate, Amy Klobuchar, that is now going to the Senate, that Kobe Lane would have made it, but that didn't happen. So it just happens to, because and to be honest, it's not something that, and I was looking to vote for somebody that did not stand by the Kids Online Safety Act, literally. And those are the people that and to be honest, it's, if I look at the coin of voting somebody based on one thing, I didn't just vote on one thing. I liked a lot of what Kobe had to say to begin with, but that kind of really sat there and I really liked about it. But when it comes to the right hand side of on the right, in the Minnesota right on for the Republican side of things, in Minnesota you don't really have to show your ID when you go to vote, but you already registered to vote, so you don't have to show your ID to vote, which I kind of like. You really should at least like show what you use to register to vote with, but at the same time, it's whatever. It's whatever. Um, to be honest, actually, what would make so much more easier is instead of requiring an ID to vote, put a picture up when you register to vote. Put a picture up. Make it so that there's a picture aside with that person that's voting. So that it makes it easier for us to identify it a little bit better. I know it's one of those things that would even be better than trying to put a poll tax to begin with. You know, you register to vote, you should be registered to vote, and that's how it should be done. Okay, I am not somebody for the SAVE Act anyway, for the reasons for what it is. But we have all this basic technology this day that it takes us, you know, a lot harder on things like that. But also here in the state, you also do get to pick whatever side you want to vote for in the primary. You get to pick Republican or you get to pick Democrat, and you get to decide, do you want left or do you want right? And that's it. Okay? That's all it is in the primary. Now, of course, there is things that that did happen that actually I kind of was like, okay, yeah, good. Because there's this thing that you need to really understand is do not pay attention to the polls. Like, pay attention to them somewhat. Understand what's going on. Understand how people are voting in some of these polls and things. But they're only a subsample of what actually is being polled or what's being done for voting itself. And think about how you choose to vote and make your voice be heard to begin with. And don't just follow the trends of what everybody's gonna vote for because your voice isn't gonna really be heard. Of course, when you look at what happened is like, why do I say that polls don't matter? Well, they projected that Mike Lindell was supposed to be the big guy who basically was supposed to win, and was supposed to win because the polls said so, and projected. It did not happen. Lost by 45,000 points last time I checked. Which was a good thing. I didn't like the man in the first place. I never liked him. If he was going to be, I wasn't going to vote for him. But they have literally, in the state of Minnesota, I will definitely never vote a Republican again. Or vote a Republican this time because, first off, the person that's running in the Senate, that's on the Republican side of things, is also one that is willing to stand up for Trump, willing to stand and do those things. On the left-hand side of things, does not support Donald Trump. Yeah, may have had some problems with fraud. Yes, you gotta really think about it. But point of the matter is like there's fraud going all over the place, everywhere you go. Okay, it doesn't matter what country you live in, doesn't matter. There's fraud going to be there, and you just might not know about it. Okay, and then there are times where it blows out of proportion, and it does matter, and then and it really blows it way out of proportion. Not understanding what's going on, not understanding the problem because you don't live in the state. You don't. I noticed the gas station here need gas. And it's acid reflex. But it's one of those things where or the more that you understand that you gotta really understand that you know things do happen. Like there are people getting their information stolen on a daily basis, hackers, identity theft, things that go on a daily basis through these things. You know, go look at Scammer Payback. Okay, Scammer Payback, one of the biggest things that I watch for scammers. Scammers happen, and they're there. There are going to be people that are going to try to find ways to gain through that system, but you don't know what's going on. You don't really see the whole picture because you only get seen what people are going to tell you. People are going to tell you that you hear from the right side, but then you don't look in the left side. You don't look at the other side of the coin and see what they're saying. And yes, I have watched people on the right. I do occasionally watch things on the right, and I still every time I go and watch to be honest, every time I go and watch a CBS, or every time I go and watch or read an article from a right wing article, I like disgusts me every time I read it. Like that's the whole point. Is it really? In a lot of those things that we need to focus on those issues and figure out what's being done and what's being said between these political parties. You know, don't it's like yeah, every time I turn on a thing where I sit there and watch Trump for 30 minutes, it's like I have to leave. I have to sit and leave. And the whole point of it is like I sit and look at these people on the left, like the right. I go and study them. It's like, nope, not voting for you, because it doesn't matter if it's coming from. If I can literally find it that you have said this or you have done this, then I'm not going to sit there. It's like I won't be voting Lisa Demuth either, because for that exact same reason. Why I won't be voting for the Senate either on the Republican side. Why I have stopped. Why I've chosen not to. Because they're willing to sit there and willing to continue to support Donald Trump, and even if the Supreme Court decided, oh well, he can have his third term, they're going to let it happen because he has immunity. He has these things, and these things really do make that problem. If you are sitting there and you are here and you are somebody who supports the Republican Party, you're only a Republican Party in name anymore. You are literally not a Republican. There is no such thing as Republican anymore. You are either a rhino or you are um, a part of the MAGA crowd. And unfortunately, people like that who still will continue to if you find anything on those issues, and it's the same thing why I haven't really um, or at least for Senate, in um, the House, I haven't seen the House side of things, but I probably still won't vote for the House either, because of a lot of reasons, and understanding that I really am not a one issue, truly. I do spend my time. I'm not like one issue where I'm saying, oh, I wanted to do it just because of trans. No, I do it if the if the two candidates were against trans people, then I go and look at what else do they have that actually that's good and that's great for them. There's one issue I will draw the line on, and if you end up willing to support Trump or anything of his policies of any kind, then I'm not going to sit there and vote for you for that reason, because you are willing to listen, you are willing to be against him, but then you are willing to do things like that. And I'm not going to sit there and listen to you if you are willing to do that. And as somebody who absolutely was considered a Republican myself, okay, I was somewhat of a moderate Republican, and a lot of things that are there, but now I've kind of leaned more to the center, more to the middle of the road of everything. You know, the only reason why I voted, because we need to, there's a couple of things that we do need to increase the minimum wage at the federal level. I'm not saying we need to go to the federal level and say, no, the federal level shouldn't be $25 an hour. Okay, I am not for somebody for $25 an hour for minimum wage. No, I really do think that we should have, looking at what these other states that do have the minimum wage increased, and just increase it across the board to that minimum, because I think we should be really focused on that. And if you're going to continue to raise prices, because whatever you look at the tariff, they got your money for it, and they still kept the prices the same. It's like you look at the COVID, like nobody was buying anything, but now people are out there buying stuff. Why can't you put the prices back to pre-COVID? Because they want to make your money, take your money, and use your money for their own lavish lifestyles. For a lot of these CEOs, it's not right. I'm not saying that these people can't have lavish lifestyles, that these big people can't have it. Okay, there are people who are out there who are billionaires, maybe even millionaires out there, that are doing what's right for the community, doing what's right across the country. For example, like J.B. Pritzker, a guy who owns a hotel chain, or at least in coexistence with it, at least. In a way, I can't think of what you will call it for it, but at least he's one of those people that I can get behind. People that are willing to stand for the people, by the people, and not for the corporations, not for major businesses. Those are the things that I'm not. I will tell you, I don't agree with Bernie Sanders 100% of the time, but sometimes he actually does a lot of things that are really good, more than anything else. And I think we need to have somebody who understands that You know, he is actually one taking on the studying AI. He's in his I don't know. I think he's like in his 70s or 80s, and he's doing well for himself. He's actually somebody that, yeah, you can be 70, 80 years old and still have those things. Hold on, hold on, guys. I'll be right back.